Hello and welcome to today's episode where we are looking at demand in business. We are happy to have you here and we kindly request you to subscribe and leave us a comment. What is demand? Demand is a quantity of a good or service that a consumer is willing and able to pay for at a given price and over a given period. Let us note that there are essential demand elements in this definition. 1. It's about the quantity of a good or service. Here, we're talking about the total amount of good or service. And this could be measured in a variety of ways, such as units, weight, volume, or time. Another element of demand in this definition is the willingness of the consumer. And here we're referring to the inclination or the eagerness to acquire or utilize something, or the desire to possess or use. And this inclination is influenced by the tastes and preferences or decisions of the consumer. Another important element of demand in this definition is the ability to pay for. And here we are referring to the consumer's purchasing power or the spending capacity. And this is usually eagerly determined by the disposable income or the earnings of the consumer. Another factor that we need to note, or the element we need to note, is the price. And here we're talking about the value placed on a commodity. The price charged for an item plays a crucial role in determining its demand. If the price of products goes down, demand is likely to go up, and when the price goes up, the demand is likely to go down. Therefore, the price of a product is a significant factor that affects the market demand for that product. Then lastly, the other element of demand in this definition is the given period or the period. And here, the term period, we are referring to a specific duration of time during which the level of demand for a particular product or service is assessed. It should be noted that demand is never static and it tends to fluctuate over time. This requires a periodic evaluations. Therefore, from this definition, the term demand is simply the amount of product or service that a buyer can afford and is willing to purchase, considering both the price and the time frame. Let us now look at the determinants of demand. First is the price of a product. Consumers base their purchasing decision on price if all other factors are held constant. The law of demand states that consumers will purchase more of a good at lower prices and less of a good when the prices increase. Another determinant is the buyer's income. And for most goods, there is positive and a direct relationship between consumers' income and the amount of good they are willing and able to buy. In other words, for these goods, when income rises, the demand for the product increases, whereas when the income falls, the demand for the product will decrease. But specifically, if a good is a normal good, increases in income will result in increase in demand, and decreases in income will result in decrease in demand. Whereas, if a good is an inferior good, increases in income will result in a decrease in demand, while decrease in income will result in increase in its demand. Another determinant is government policy. Government policies have direct impact on the demand for various commodities. If the government imposes high taxes on a commodity, the commodity becomes expensive and less of it is demanded by the consumers. Whereas, If government effects a subsidy, this is likely to lower the product's price and leading to increase in its demand. Also, we know that government may also influence the demand for a product by enacting laws that either limit or promote the consumption of the said product. Another determinant is the population. The size and composition of population affects demand, as when there is population growth, demand increases, and it increases along with population decline. The composition of the population involved, especially when you're talking of ratios of male or female or children ratio, will affect the demand for a commodity. With many people available, more goods are demanded, and if the people are few, less is being bought from the market. Another determinant is taste, fashions, and preferences. If the taste and preferences are positive, then demand will increase and vice versa. If people have a choice for a product, they will demand more of it. And if their preferences change to another product, they will reduce the demand for the product they were using before. Demand is also determined by distribution of incomes. The term income distribution is a statistical concept, and it arises from people's decisions about their work, savings, and investment as they interact through markets, and also how they are affected by the government tax systems. And this simply means the distribution of wealth among the citizens of a given country. Where income is well distributed, the demand for goods and services is high, as opposed to when the payment is in the hands of few individuals. Another point is the future expectations of price changes. This is basically where consumers, businesses, and even investors expect prices either to decrease or increase in future. If the prices are expected to go up in future, more goods will be demanded in the present. Where else, if the prices is expected to go down in future, few goods will be demanded in the present. Another point is about the price of related products. When it comes to related products, we are talking about substitutes and complements. Substitutes are goods that satisfy a similar need or desire, and an increase in such goods, an increase in price, that is, will increase demand for its substitute, while a decrease in price will decrease demand for its substitute. The other is complements. Complement goods are goods that are used jointly, and an increase in price of goods that are complements will decrease demand for its complement product, while a decrease in the price of a good will increase demand for its complement products. The weather is a determinant of demand. The seasonal and weather conditions affect the market demand for various commodities. For example, during winters, demand for woolen clothes and jackets increase, whereas market demand for raincoats and umbrellas are likely to increase during the rainy season. Then, our last determinant that we look at today is the terms of sale. The better the terms of purchase, for example, provision of credit or better discounts, consumer-friendly delivery options, warranties, after-sales services, etc., is likely to lead to a higher the demand for that product. Let us look at the types of demand in business. Our first one, it is the cross demand. This is a term used to describe the fluctuation in demand for a product based on changes in the price of another related product. Essentially, this gauges how alterations in the cost of one item can impact the market for a different but related one. And it means that the demand for a particular product is not solely determined by its price, but also by the cost of another related good. For example, the sensitivity of butter's demand in response to changes in the price of margarine. Another type of demand is a price demand. And the concept of price demand refers to the willingness of consumers to spend a certain amount on a product at a given price, or how much they are willing to pay for a specific quantity of goods or services. And this is very important to understand the consumer's willingness to pay. And this data or the information of consumer behavior are important, especially to companies that want to gauge the optimal price point for a new product launch, as consumers tend to make purchasing decisions based on their perceived value of an item. Another type is the income demand. And this refers to the relationship between a consumer's real income and their desire for certain goods or services. Essentially, this kind of demand reveals how much of a particular item a consumer is likely to purchase at different income levels. And from the image, interestingly, you'll find that consumers tend to buy more of certain products in proportion to an increase in their income, and particularly when it comes to luxury products. In other words, what you're saying is that people earn more, as people earn more income, they are typically will increase their overall spending on certain items. And the other one is the direct or autonomous demand. And this is especially refers to the demand for finished products, such as food, clothing, cars, cell phones, etc. And this type of demand is not influenced by any other good or service. It stands on its own and is not dependent on other products or their prices. The next is derived or indirect demand. And this refers to demand for a certain good or service that stems from demand for a related or different good or service. And to illustrate this, when there is a high demand for new homes, this will translate to high demand for harvested lumber or timber, a demand for cement, and also labor. Please note that labor is a very crucial aspect of derived demand, as it is very much dependent on the level of demand for other goods and services. Next will be the composite demand. And by composite demand, we are referring to a situation where a single product can be utilized for multiple purposes. And this concept is exemplified by milk, which can be transformed into cheese, yogurt, cream, butter, and other products. It is worth noting that an increase in demand of one of these milk byproducts, like yogurt, is likely to lead to a decrease in supply of the other product, for example, butter. Therefore, the milk products can ultimately affect the supply of other milk products. Then, next, it is the joint or complementary demand. And this refers to demand for commodities needed together to satisfy a need or a want. And this joint demand for two commodities, when they are such that without one, the other cannot fulfill that need. And for example, we see petrol and cars. If there is high demand for cars, then there is likely going to have high demand for petrol products, as well as if there is high demand for cell phones or smartphones. It's likely to translate to also high demand in cell phone chargers. Okay, and thank you very much Kindly stay in touch and let us know how you think about this video. Thank you.